All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So my goal is to cover four on this one. I want to look at SOFI, SoundHound, Big Bear AI, as well as KULR Technologies. All right, so that's the one, two, three, four, and my goodness, a lot of good things happening on SOFI right now. Right, I made a bunch of videos basically saying, hey, look, I'm expecting most stocks in the tech world at least, right, to come to the 50 moving average. All right, this red line right here. When we look at NASDAQ, that's what NASDAQ did. NASDAQ was over the 8, then lost it, came to the 20 and lost it, then eventually came to the 50. We never came, we got a little close, but not close enough to start making me think 100. But hey, if the NASDAQ's going to come to the red line, so should the rest, right? And actually, we see that on SoFi. We see that on SoundHound. I think we see that on BBAI. Oh, not as bad, actually, but kind of almost. And then KULR. Oh, kind of almost as well. Interesting, cool. But yeah, that's at least my baseline expectation. Where that goes, the rest should follow, right? What we're now starting to see is a solid few days. All right. I'll talk a little bit about the indices when I get into SoFi specifically. But look, today was the CPI data release. Look, I am not pretending to be smart enough to understand it. I do not look at that data. I do not know what any of it is. I don't even know what they're looking at. Okay. What I do know is if it was good, NASDAQ was going to gap up, and that's what happened. If the CPI was good, S&P 500 would gap up, and that is what happened. And you can guess what I'm about to say, Dow Jones as well, right? So all three of the indices saw a lot of love today. In my little dumb head, that means CPI was good. That hopefully is a nice big hurdle that we needed those to get over, right? So there's some nicer conditions in the ocean, right? Those big Arctic waves that we see on Deadliest Catch that I was joking about, maybe they're calming. Maybe we can take the crew back out and start going crab fishing, right? So let's see what happens. Let's see if we can confirm. But yeah, SoFi's trying to get back over, and I'll start getting into more of the thoughts. You know what I'm about to do, right? But I think each of these, and really like the indices themselves, we still just need one more. Right? Clearly, we're over on this one. I mean, SoundHound's not as close, but hey, SoundHound has a good little gap and a good little shot with the red, green, greens, right? And then BBAI is going to follow them, and it's kind of starting to, right? And there's some interesting things brewing, right? So KULR, you can kind of see it actually almost mimicking the indices like we saw there too, right? So overall, we just want that last little bit, but these 3 days have been optimistic. I still think it's worth being cautiously optimistic. I do, all right? I think it's a lot easier to be more optimistic than yesterday, just given the CPI kind of early and big reaction. But again, everything that we've just looked at, from these tickers to the indices, everything needs at least one more confirmation candle, right? So, yeah, I think that's what we'll be looking for. But before we do go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much of these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, your thoughts. Oh, I'm so thankful for all of it, all right? So let's get into it. And look, I've been joking about SoFi that when a stock does so good, there's very little educated things I can say, right? Once you break all five and you fly and you start bouncing on the 8 moving average like a champion, I mean, those two sentences alone will do incredible things, all right? All of a sudden, we started to see a little bit of a stall. And going back to what I said in the opening thoughts, look, when I'm expecting something to come to the 50 moving average, I think what's really important is knowing that the distance is only from here to here. as opposed to all the way down here where it was at one point, right? And when you lose, moving averages matter so much, you know what I mean? And hey, this could have been a pretty tough one, but I'm glad it waited. In that wait, this got closer, then it comes right here, right? And believe me, that fall right there, that fall right there, those could have been significantly worse, right? So it's important to understand where the lines are on the way up and as well on the way down, right? But what are we looking for right now? Look, SoFi is a real look. I've said this a couple times, and I know if it actually offends some people. I'm not trying to offend anyone when I say this, right? But I know SoFi really does its best to like pretend to. And I don't want to say pretend, but like to emphasize it's a technology stock. It's not just some another bank, another lender, right? To me, SoFi is just another bank and just another lender, right? And I feel the Dow Jones has a lot more influence on SoFi than it actually does on any other tech stock that I normally look at. Like I'm looking at tech heavy things. SoFi, it at the core of it, it really is just a banking lender in so many different forms, right? They just do a bunch of different things. They try to sprinkle in this like crypto side, this like online presence side, but yeah, I think just again, that's my main reason why I think the Dow Jones matter. And look, the Dow Jones DJ30, just really quickly because I spend more time on the Nasdaq. Dow Jones went from the worst to not too bad to actually a legit contender right now, right? We need one more candle. Like I was saying, is my cat trying to get out? What are you doing? Oh, come on, bro. You want to get out? Get out of here. Where's that guy? So, this thing still does need one more, right? But if we can get over that 50, I mean, green, red, green, red. I know I say it on a lot of dumb tickers. Green will also come on the big index. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't get anything funny out, but you get what I'm trying to go for, right? So, a lot of good can come here. And obviously, I've been looking at the NASDAQ a bunch if you've been watching any of my last videos. But yeah, you just get me over that 20 moving average, and all of a sudden, we've never lost the golden line, and I'm still relatively okay, right? But again, they both still need just a little bit more. We can't assume. All right. And hey, honestly, even after the CPI gap ups that we saw, I still think the respectful and the strategically sound thing to do is not assume. Let's get the candles, let's see them, let's watch them close up there, and then we can go, right? I know it sounds silly saying just ignore some of these gains right now, but in a lot of ways there are good things that can come from that. You know what I mean? So overall, though, SoFi at this point, my next line up is this 1660, right? If we can see just a little bit more from all of the indices, that is where it should go. Where are we to that? It's a little higher. Maybe this? Okay. I think 1570 is an interesting line. I think if this can get over 1570, I think that's where I think 1660 would be next. If 1660 breaks, my next line up is actually all the way up at 19. Green, red, green, red, green, red, and actually a complete 3 years below that line. If SoFi can break 1660 and get into, look at this, right? Even here, we only did it once, only one green candle above that line in 3 years, right? If we can get over that 1660, that's going to be a nice juicy move up to here. And really, the green, and red actually continue beyond this line to there. I just think it's a little irresponsible to talk about $22 when you're still only at 15. You know what I mean? But I can see this 1619 hitting if good things happen. If they don't continue and if they don't confirm, and they is the indices, right? The Nasdaq, the S&P, and the Dow Jones. I would see us coming down to 1470. Okay, and really, it's important to never I think I'll take here. Never go below 1430. If this thing loses 1430, that's where tough things will come. But again, I think there's still some good support, some good moving averages above that to really emphasize that much. All right. So again, ride the confirmation up or avoid the avalanche down. That's still the cautious flag in the air until we really find ourselves in a nice stable footing with the indices, right? I at least started with it, and I'll say the joke again, right? The oceans are calmer than they were before. I don't see these big crazy waves crashing like I did, and hey, they were, right? So I don't need to go back to them, you remember. So did I look at the weekly? I don't think I looked at the weekly. Oh, okay, look at that. Nice. Okay, this is we're close to the end of the week, and we're almost at that eight moving average right there. 1556. We're only a couple pennies below it. What's that candle at? 1560. No, I don't think there's too much to take from this weekly onto the daily. I think I liked the daily chart thoughts here. Cool. Look, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Hey, I appreciate you so much. Let's come into Soundhound next. And look, again, I think in a little bit of a ways, it's the same comments as SOFI, and I kind of wish I chaptered them because I don't want to repeat everything for another 10 minutes, right? But look, in my head, where the index goes, so will the tickers within it. All right. And SoFi has established itself as a very heavy technology play, right? This is a tech company, and where the Nasdaq goes, I'm going to always assume that's where it's going to go. Look, the next two are actually still tech stocks, and I said it in the opening thoughts. I thought that they were going to get there, and they didn't, right? They kind of doji just above them. So nothing's set in stone, and believe me, I'm wrong more often than I am right. But yeah, I'm coming into the baseline, and look, I don't know if you fast forwarded to Soundhound from SoFi, but one thing that matters is if you're going to lose the 20 and come all the way to the 50, I don't want to do it when it's there. I want to do it when it's there. That's a safer, smaller drop. That's a safer, smaller drop. Soundhound had a rougher fall from the 8 to the, sorry, from the 20 to the 50, right? We weren't able to stay horizontal long enough. I remember saying that on one of my last videos. We wanted to stay horizontal long enough for that line to catch up. It just didn't happen. The NASDAQ gave up. It followed the Dow Jones, blah, blah, blah. You know the rest, right? But that's a real big thing to keep your eyes on because, hey, that was a tough fall, right? Going from 20 to 12, that's not where you want to go from the 20 to the 50, right? Again, you never want to go from the 20 to the 50 down, but hey, going from this one, right, from 15 to 14 something, that's a lot more manageable, right? And it's important, I'm going to say it one more time just in case you fast forwarded. It's important to know the distance between the moving averages on the way up as well as on the way down, all right? But where are we now? Look, the Nasdaq is trying to recover, the S&P 500 is trying to recover, and the Dow Jones is trying to recover. Nasdaq matters the most for this one, but I always want the indices to do the same, just like I want any random sector to do the same, right? And if we can see the confirmation candle on Nasdaq. Today was good on Nasdaq. Today we saw a beautiful gap up, right? We closed all the way down here, the green number over there at 19,040. We opened 300 bucks higher, and then we close another two. We're all the way up here, right? So big gap up. In my dumb little head, that means that CPI data was good. Give me one more confirmation, get me back over all the moving averages. All of a sudden, I gotta believe Soundhound's gonna take advantage of this spacing. Look, there is green, red. Next stop should be 16. Break 16, and the next stop should be 1880, almost 19 actually. You know, so that's what we're hunting on this one right now. If we don't confirm, if we were to fail, I think back to 13, maybe even this 1260 right here actually seems a bit realistic. But yeah, those aren't bad numbers to chase. And hey, again, what was a bad distance from up here to down here, all of a sudden is a really attractive distance from down here to up here, especially knowing that those two aren't at, like, if they were this tight, I'd be a little more uncomfortable. But hey, I can battle the 8, take a little break, recover myself, battle the 20 and go again. And we know SoundHound has the ability to bring volume behind it when it's set up. So cool. Similar thoughts it was, but I think that was unique enough to feel educated and like I didn't waste your time right there. Let's take a look at the weekly really quickly. What's that line? 17. Okay, cool. That's basically in between the numbers I just said, right? If we can get over that 16 number, 17 would probably be next. That's what we got from the weekly. And then 19 would be shortly after that, right? I think that's our boom, boom, boom on the way up. And really, I would just use this 1260. I think if we were to fail, we're going to go down to 1260. Hey, regular after hours is going up a bit. I think that's a little optimistic for sure. But obviously, the focus really is NASDAQ. Where NASDAQ goes, this will follow. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's take a look at BBAI. And I mean, BBAI is really trying to do what SoundHound is doing. I think the one big difference is the spacing on the moving averages. I think that's a thing to focus on. But again, if SoundHound can do good enough, I think that will be a good thing for BBAI as well. Because like I said, I think this one's the follow the leader ticker. All right. What am I looking for? Look, I think this one's simple, actually. I think we want to get over, let's just do 375. I think if we can get to 375, the next place it would probably want to go is 430. Do I have a line over 430? I do. 550 is the next line. It's a little aggressively high, but look where we're at, right? There is just green, green, greens, red, red, reds, and nothing, nothing, nothing is in this little realm that we're sitting in, right? So there's actually some pretty decent things setting up right here. And yeah, I'll say it. I actually really, really like it. If we can get into 375, I think I'll set a quick alert. Why not? An alert is not an immediate buy notification, but yeah, if we can do that, there's some room that if we can do that, it probably means NASDAQ went up. Because again, if NASDAQ goes up to the next MA, so will this. If NASDAQ comes down to the next ones, it will basically come down, maybe even as low as 280. I think there's a little bit of a risk reward here, but yeah, hey, if we can go up, I imagine we'll get that missing volume that we haven't been able to see the last couple days too. So I might just combine this in with the SoundHound comments as well. Actually, we'll see what I do. But I don't think there's too many other thoughts on that. I think it's important to look at SoundHound on this one, but I do think NASDAQ will probably matter just a little bit more. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. We'll end it with KULR. By no means last but not least. That's what they normally say. So KULR has been, I would say, struggling a little bit more than I think we've seen some of the other tech stocks do. But on that same token, when I look at RGTI, right, this thing went from 20 down to below 10 to the sixes. So like KULR is not a quant stock. That's not the point of it. But KULR made a real hot run, right? And I think quant might have been that next sector that was close enough to KULR. And I think looking at those two together, maybe it's a little bit more tolerable to swallow that 50% loss, right? When you see the other big movers just did it too, right? So just a little food for thought on the KULR side right there. Real quick, hey, if you can subscribe, if you can share, it does wonders. So I think what there's a couple things that are jumping out of my head. I'm just going to kind of start in the order I see. This is a really important line right here. And I remember making so many videos in that 2-week moment right here. It was just doji after doji after doji after doji candles. So many candles. And basically the thought was if we can get over this, it would fly. Clearly it did. To me, as long as we can hold this, I think there's really strong things in general for KULR. Now, granted, $1.25 is really low. And hey, obviously we have the 50 moving average. Obviously there's a couple other supports above it that are in my head, but I think I just really do want to call out this point. And the one ticker that it reminds me of is SoundHound. All right. When we spiked, we had that first big doji moment. We spiked, but we held the big doji moment. We then had another big doji moment. We fell but held, and then the rest was history, right? I'm really, really not saying we're going to fall down here. I think there's enough good things happening on the indices, and I'll talk about that shortly. But in a broader, I'm a daily, weekly guy, right? I think I'm talking maybe in a monthly view, give or take, maybe even a quarterly view. I don't know. I'm just kind of talking out loud and a little. As long as these hold, good things will happen. All right, that's my in general thoughts. All right, kind of talking more immediate and more daily, weekly, and more kind of what you're watching this video for. Right, look, I think there's a real strong positive in the fact that this didn't fall to the 50 moving average. Okay, where the Nasdaq goes, so should a tech heavy stock. This decided not to. It actually decided to not even come close to losing the 20. That's obviously a doji candle, doesn't count. That's a doji candle, doesn't count. Green candles don't count. And that, obviously, all four of these are under the 20. But none of these, even all four of them combined together, don't say we've lost and confirmed the 20, right? So in a lot of ways, KULR's held these. And so did the robotic stocks that I covered earlier today. So it's not like it's a crazy anomaly for that to happen in the tech world, right? But yeah, just a little positive food for thought, right? What we are seeing are the indices kind of improving. We're seeing all of them get some love from CPI data. If they continue, we're basically hunting a break of this $3 line. I'm not a big fan of these two lines stacked together. It's a little tougher. I would have really liked it to look like SOUN, where one's right here, we can attack it and then chill, attack it and then chill, right? And then go, right? So KULR is just a, oops, did you take me there? No, KULR. KULR's a little bit more stacked with the moving averages than I prefer, but yeah, get me into that 3 realm, maybe even worth waiting for like 318, and then all of a sudden I can see us going up to 360. Look, that's more than a 10% move, even if you just wait for that 318 that I just mentioned. And then from there, again, that's the golden line break that we're looking for. You break the golden line and good things would happen. Maybe it's worth putting a line right here at like 415. Again, I think that, no, that's too close to the golden line. We don't need to do that. Cool. If NASDAQ fails, if we don't get that CPI confirmation tomorrow, there is a real potential for this to drop to that $160, maybe even a real 130, that doji area that I just mentioned, right? But yeah, follow the NASDAQ, all right? We haven't seen much on PR in a minute. I'm sure earnings are going to be around the corner since we finished the year, finished the quarter, right? So we'll keep an eye out for those. But yeah, overall, I am at least seeing more good than bad. I know it's not the easiest thing to say when, like I said, I'm looking at a 50% drop from the highs of only a couple weeks ago, but we saw that with quant. We saw that with the hot sectors. This was a hot ticker on its own, right? Even if you missed the first leg and you only caught it from here, there was still a really good move. You know what I mean? So, yeah, KULR. Not too bad overall. And again, I made a long-term video not that long ago. I realized starting the year off, you know, with at least a 30% drop, if you're only going to look at it from actually January, right, isn't the best of things. But hey, it's only been 2.5 weeks. This is actually only the first full week of trading. This is a drop in the bucket for the year, right? It might realistically be really hard to remember what happened in this early January minute when we're talking about KULR in March and June and in October, etc. Right? So part of the game. I'm a short-term dude, right? But yeah, when you zoom out, you got to add that little bit of patience and the realities of time, right? So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so much.